Now, Smokey, everybody has to be quiet. The live stream's beginning.
That's all a bunch of horse poop. Hey, everybody. How are you doing on that side of the screen? I know, same greeting I did on my live stream. I really do try to keep a totally different feel between the two, but in the end, it is me talking. Someday, Arty will come back and take the reins, and I can just sit in the corner and cause trouble instead of try to be the respectable one. Oh, that's a new one, Attila. That's going to be a story. You need to write a book. There's Randall coming back in. I hope you are all well. As I stated, we are coming down to Christmas. According to Joyce, we got just a little bit of Christmas shopping left. And then I got a birthday present in the mail from my friend Jean Ricard over in Denmark. And as soon as I opened it up and showed Joyce what it was, she went, "Oh, that might cause a problem for Christmas." I was like, "Oh, did you get me one for Christmas?" She's like, "I'm not telling." It's like, I think you already did. I think you already did. When you go, "Oh, that might be a problem for Christmas," that does imply something there. Yep, Denmark, that's a whole other country. There's a lot of them out there. Sadly, we Americans sometimes think we're the only country. Forget that there's a whole world out there. And we're just a small part of it. But, so yeah, anyhow, I'll share this little bit with you when I go to this screen here. You can see it in the three cameras. That way. Yeah, I got to remember opposite. Well, actually, the two cameras below me. I've told this story a few times on my other stream and probably on this stream too. In June of 2023, Joyce and I stayed in the town of Bamberg for a week, and we rented an apartment from this gentleman named Horst, who was a former teacher. So we bonded over that. And then he found out not only was I into model trains, I was into Maryland. We hit it off, became good friends. And the next day, he gifted me with what's called a Schienenbus, a rail bus. Okay, it's a rail bus. And that's the first car. And I let it set for a year with my friend Jean Ricard saying, "When are you going to convert that and get it running on your layout?" And I said, "Well, someday. Well, that someday came last month, and I converted it, put it in a decoder, and it ran on my layout and even on a live stream for the first time ever. And I'm quite pleased. It was a gift of companionship and love from Horst. So I appreciate it and having it running. And then, lo and behold, Jean Ricard a little while ago said, "You do know they make, Tony, you do know that they make, Anthony, you do know they make extra cars for that. You know, that it can go as many as 3 cars." I said, "No, I did not know that." He says, "Well, it looks lonely running on your layout by itself. It really needs the extra passenger car." And I thought, okay. And he immediately said, "This is it. And there are 2 versions of it. One with DB written on it, one without DB on it. And you have to get the one without DB on it." Okay. And so I gave it as a Christmas gift to Joyce. And then Jean Ricard calls me 3 weeks after I gave it to Joyce as a Christmas gift. And he says, "Anthony, I went up to my model train shop and was just looking around. And what do you think I saw?" I said, "I don't know." He says, "Well, I found this and I'm going to send it to you." And he sent it to me. So that's going to be running today. I thought I would just have a little something running just so people can think there's some sort of train related thing on here. Otherwise, I don't have I've been struggling the last couple of weeks to come up with topics because I have been heavily focused on writing. I have just finished. I'm hoping that means I'll be able to get it out for Christmas, but I just finished writing the Matt Clark Christmas special, writing it. Now I have to produce it, and that means finding all the appropriate pictures in the background, recording all the voices. I'm hoping to start recording voices tomorrow and Monday. Hey, Joe Rader, welcome in. Glad to see you there. And I think everybody here, except for maybe one or two people, maybe in the background, don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about Matt Clark. If you are not familiar with my channel, sorry guys, you could just go la 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 and tune out while I explain this. Thanks to my friend Randall Cunningham, 4 years ago, I started a cartoon. Well, actually, it's not really a cartoon. It's a vocalized comic strip. So if you think of what a comic strip is, like in the newspaper, the cartoon, where they have word balloons, we just take out the word balloons, show the pictures, take out the word balloons, and we add voices. And I produce this all. I do all the voices except Joyce does most of the female characters. I do one of the female characters. Miss Donna-Lot. And there's still a Schienenbus line in Germany, acts as a tourist line. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are places where they run. There's all kinds of heritage lines, just like there are in the UK and the United States, and stuff. People like to kind of live the good old days. But anyhow, and after 3 episodes and 3 Christmas specials, I took some time off. It's been over a year since I've worked with Matt Clark. And I did kind of other stuff. And to a small group of friends on my channel, it's become a bit of a cult classic. There are people that do love the Matt Clark stuff. I love producing it. It doesn't get a lot of views, but I love it. It is not for kids. There are occasional cuss words in it. There's definitely sexual jokes, sexual humor, sexual innuendo, but it's not all. There's cultural references. Even though it's set in the 1890s, there's all kind of cultural references to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's running jokes, bad jokes, dad jokes, cerebral jokes. So yeah, Daisy and everybody will be back. Daisy and Lil and Matt Clark. Daisy will appear in both her outfits. So both her little beaver outfit and her gunslinger Daisy outfit. So those of you who like Daisy, Joyce will be back doing the voice, because Daisy's just a picture. It's Joyce that brings her to life. But anyhow, after a year off, I want to get back to writing it a bit. And I came up with the idea for a Christmas special. So this will be Christmas special number 4, but usually the Christmas specials followed a season. Now this one is going to lead into the next season. Hey, Alan Reynolds, how are you? Yep. Well, again, this, of course, is not actually my show. This is my friend Arty from Australia's show, and which is Sunday morning for him. But due to some circumstances involving, I don't know how much Arty would want me to talk about, but it's an issue where because of some things that happened 4 years ago, and an insurance company is fighting him. They've advised him to not be seen on social media, because they use social media as a claim to say, see, there's nothing wrong with him. So I probably said too much and he'll shoot me for it later, but Attila can do it. And now the other thing about Matt Clark is, after season 1, I started asking friends or followers of Matt Clark if they wanted to be in Matt Clark. You could actually be in Matt Clark, not your name, but if you sent me a picture of yourself from about here up and wide, so a bust shot, so to speak, from about here up, I could make you a character in the show. And then I always clear with you what I'm going to do with the character. to make sure you're okay with it. I'm going to tell you whether they're going to be a good guy or a bad guy. If I'm going to do anything with them, I may not tell you whether I'm going to kill them off or not, because you don't. Well, if you're going to kill them off, I don't want to be one. Well, then, okay, you won't be one. For legal purposes, no, he's not, Chris. For legal purposes, he is not. He's here in spirit. He is not on camera, and he is not here. Okay, so anyhow, yeah, so the crazy, it's added there, but so for example, Randall Ellison sent me a picture a couple of years ago, and I turned him into a character called Fredo Baggino, which is a pun on Frodo Baggins from Lord of the Rings. And we had a couple of Lord of the Rings jokes come up in Series 3. Randall appears as Fredo Baggino in Series 3. And one of the things that just makes Joyce and me grin, I'm going to stop this bus for a second because it's windy, makes it hard, and I feel like I got to talk over. Hey, Monsville, how are you? But Fredo, one of the coolest things, the great honor we get is that like Randall liked his character so much, or had so much fun being that character, that he plays a video game that he posts on YouTube, a NASCAR, one of the racing games, and his character is Fredo Baggino the Fourth. And every time that's on, Joyce and I just smile, because nothing, some people go, is it okay if I use the character you made me? Can I use their names? And we're like, yeah, we I copyright the writing, so you cannot write a book about it, but we're thrilled that it's somebody like their character. Now, in my friend Jean Ricard's case, Jean Ricard, well, he's gotten a little too addicted to his character. He's starting to confuse who he is with the character he played, because Jean Ricard wound up playing the main villain. We revealed in season 2. His character was not in season 1, but he appeared in season 2. And then we revealed in season 2 that he was the evil mastermind behind all the events of series 1, 2, and 3. And Jean Ricard would then call and complain and argue with me about how he was being portrayed. And I'm like, Jean, it's not you. It's a character that you're just the face of. I'm Brian, and so is my wife. Yeah. Indeed, Alan. Technology is a double-edged sword. It gives and it takes away. Modern technology and texting have taken away the beauty and the emotion of a handwritten letter, which I still try to write handwritten letters to people when I can. Although my handwriting's getting too bad, I probably now do type them up. But, and there's something more personal about a handwritten letter than a text message. But on the bright side, the text message gets the information there immediately. The technology that may be distracting is the reason we're all able to sit here and talk to each other. So, but yeah, the 24/7 news, and also the people that intentionally, it's allowed people to put out and explode conspiracy theories and nonsense, anti-science information as though it's real. And so, yeah, it like most things in nature, there's a yin and a yang. There's a good and a bad to it. What tells you the homestead? So Arty's sheep got out and blocked the Sydney-Melbourne freeway last week. Oh, Arty hid his sheep from us when we were there. Already been on the roof and fixed my gutter and downpipe. Good for you. I won't go up on my roof. Too steep an angle for me, and I don't like heights to begin with. But so anyhow, yeah, technology it is a technology overload and trying to keep up. Remember when VCRs came out, we used to make jokes about the people that couldn't get the blinking 12 off the VCR. And of course, I was a young man when the VCRs came out. I bought a VCR and I brought it home and I connected it to the TV in our living room. And I had bought a couple of videotapes. In fact, the first 2 videotapes I bought were the 2 Beatles movies, Hard Day's Night and Help. And I bought and paid for that VCR myself. I was 16. I had a job and I bought and paid for it. And I put it onto the TV and was watching. My dad would come up for work, get that off my TV. And I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot to get out of here before my dad came home. And he would throw a fit. And then 3 months later, I bought my own TV and I have the VCR connected to my own TV in my bedroom. And I would come home and the VCR is in the living room because my dad had hooked it up and had gone out and was renting movies and watching. And I'm like, hey, I want my VCR. I'm watching this. And, you'd say, but I bought it. You live under my roof, don't you? I was like, oh. And at 16, I was as big as my dad and probably stronger, but I didn't want to go down that route. So eventually I guilted him into buying his own VCR. And then, of course, DVDs came out, or Laserdisc and then DVD, but I skipped Laserdisc and went straight to DVD. Bring on the rain. Well, there's that. So yeah, it's one of those, and of course the technology discussion comes right into our modern trains. And maybe, it's a topic everybody talks about. And the problem is many people dig in their heels. And I don't like to try to talk about things where people dig in their heels and refuse to say, hey, you know what? You do it your way. I'm cool. I do it my way. That's cool. We can all do our own things. But, technology. I am into model trains because of the technology. And there are other people that are into and do much more impressive things with their trains because of modern technology, where they've got computers that control, where they do block detection and they have computers that program their trains to run and stop here, go and park, and the next train take off, go to the station, wait there for 5 minutes, then take off. Absolutely brilliant stuff. I don't want to do that, but I think it's brilliant with the people who do. But of course, now we have digital versus analog, and a lot of people say DC versus DCC, which my crusade to get people to understand DC versus DCC is not the proper terminology to be using. You should be saying analog versus digital. You say DC to mean analog and DCC to mean digital command control. But DCC is actually just one programming language, for lack of a better term, encoding. There's DCC, there's American Motorola, there's Skelectrix, there's several, Skelectrix is the slot car company, so I forget, but it's something like that. There's a lot of different ones. Even American has MFX Plus, MFX, and then MM, which is American Motorola. So there's all kinds, and DCC is just one of those. And my control system, my Central Station 3, this thing reads them all. So my people say, well, is your layout DCC or DC? I said, well, technically it's 3-rail AC. See, DC is really how's it powered. My system is a 3-rail and AC. And again, the minute you talk about that, you'll get electrical engineers who start arguing DC, your 3-rail isn't actually 3-rail. It's not really AC. Hey, look, the company that designs the 3-rail says that it's Wechselstrom, which is alternating current in German. They call it AC. You argue with them, not with me. And I'll put 2 electrical engineers in a room and they'll argue whether my 3-rail system is actually AC or not. But when you look at it here, and the guy that wins me is a friend of mine that's from MIT, and he goes, it's AC. Technically, I can understand why some guys would claim it's actually DC, but no, because it does this and this and this, it's AC. Hey, Ray, welcome in. Great to have you. Sam's Train Official, hello. Yeah, I'd like to try that Sam's Train Official, but yeah. Up until about the age of 17, I lived terrified of my father. He was a big guy, but I did get bigger and stronger. Unfortunately, I didn't realize how much stronger I was than him until he tried to kill my brother, and I had to prevent that from happening. But that's a different story. But anyhow, the technology today is what gets me. 1969, Christmas of 1969, my father bought me like a traditional father did. There were certain things American boys got at that time. You'd get an electric football set, and you'd get an electric train, and then you'd get actual footballs or basketball or whatever, you know, along with your other toys. You get cap guns, you know, and your Daisy BB gun, shoot your eye out bit. You would get all that stuff. So I got Christmas of 1969. I got my first model train, and I found it absolutely boring. I played with it maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 times in a 3-year period. And the only other time I used it when I was having, I was setting up battlefield dioramas, and I'd grab the track and the train and pretend that there were, Indians raiding the rail line, and the cavalry troops had to come and chase them off and blah, blah, blah. And I would just do dioramas in that, but I didn't play with it. It just went in a circle. It was a small loop of track, and it went in a circle. It was a Tyco Santa Fe Super Chief with the war bonnet, and had a Baby Ruth car and a couple of wagon beds that carried semi. It had a couple of Santa Fe semi trailers that stood on it, and then a caboose. And it was, never forget the day you slapped your dad in the face and learned I wasn't all controlled. Yeah. Mom's working, so you're watching. All right. Well, Ray, that's cool. Hi, Mom, in the background. Why are you working? Ray's the son. He should be working. Sorry, Ray. I had to do it. I'm a parent. We parents got to stick together. So, you know, but when I bought my first model train, which was just an idea to throw it in my classroom, and when I taught the German rail system, boom, 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 put it up and let it run around. And Joyce said, this one's too good. Get a cheaper one to put in the classroom. Okay. And it happened to be digital. And when I found out the brand, it was Miraklin. Well, okay, Miraklin makes track, and I need a Miraklin controller. That was this thing. Actually, it's the gray one, but the gray one is upstairs right now running the Christmas tree train. But this controller called the Mobile Station. This is Mobile Station 2. But yeah, and then all the functions. The station announcements, the lights going on and off, the sounds of the thing actually running, and all that was cool. Plus, I had a connection to the train. I had ridden on ICE 3s, so that made it all cool. So it is the tech, but there are guys that are very either technophobic or, you know, of course, they'll complain that it's the price of all this tech that's jacking the prices of all these things up. And yes, analog trains are cheaper because you're not paying for the decoders. And there's a lot more analog on secondary market that you can buy, as well as more likely to find it at garage sales and so forth, just because it goes back much further in time. Digital goes back. I know companies like Miraklin and Hornby introduced concepts of digital in the late 70s, but none of them truly hit the market till the 80s. And then they really didn't catch on until the late 90s, early 2000s. And still many companies produce, like the German company Piko, P-I-K-O, they produce some of their models in analog. They do analog 2-rail, digital 2-rail, and then digital 3-rail of many other locos. Yeah, it would cost a fortune. When you have that old collection and you like those trains, I understand. I'm not here to say you should go digital. You go with what works for you. If you got this great old collection that you've collected over the years and you're like, oh my God, even if I can get chips for 30 pounds, $36, $39, if I can get chips for somewhere between $30 and $40, because there are cheap ones out there you can get. You're still going times, oh my God, that's 750 pounds. That's 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds to chip them. And what if I want them with sound? Oh, well, that's a different decoder. That's anywhere from 70 to 120 pounds. Oh my goodness. And you start adding it up and your brain goes, oh. But I'm the flip side. I got into digital, not really paying attention. And I'm happier with digital because I won all the digital stuff. But until I bought the collection from Herb, I didn't worry about it. But 70% of what I bought from Herb was analog. And 60% of it is 2-rail. So 75% of it or so was analog. And it's also 2-rail, which doesn't run on my main layout, which is 3-rail. So I now have a collection of old stuff, and there's no way I could afford to make them all digital. There's a couple of them I would like to make digital, but then to make it digital and 3-rail, forget it. It's impossible the way the body's designed, the way it's done. So there you go. Well, thank you, Ray. I mean, for years, I refused to call my table a layout. For years, I called it the train table. I mean, most of you that have known me more than a year and a half, within the last year, I finally said, I started referring to it as a layout. I always call it train table because I think a layout just is somebody actively working on making it a scenic display table. To me, a train table was, I've got some buildings and I'm running some train with some track laid down and I'm just running my trains, which is what I do. Do I have plans to eventually finish this up and make it? Yes, but I've had those plans for 8 years and I haven't worked on them in the last 2 to 3 years. Hey, Eric, a little at a time, then the question of sound or not. I've done both. Yeah, Eric, and you do a great job. And again, if you have the time and the patience and you want to do it. And again, I've had the same thing because I've got a bunch of 2-rail. I'm not going to say DC, guys. I'm going to say 2-rail. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to say analog, not DC. I'm going to say analog because DC and 2-rail are the same thing. But I've got some analog stuff and people say, well, why don't you take out one of your tracks and wire it separately and make it either a 2-rail lane or make it an analog lane, and then you could run more stuff. And anybody would say, yeah, why not? Because I don't want to. That's my answer. And I get these arguments where people go, why not? Why don't you want to? Because I want to be able to run my digital trains on different lines. You know, anybody who watches my live streams, when I run my trains, sometimes the IC3 is on lane 1, sometimes it's on lane 3, sometimes it's on lane 4, blah, blah, blah. I want to be able to do that. If I turn one of them and eliminate some, people say, well, you got 6 lines. Who cares about one? Me. I care about one. And we get into that where people, you know, they've got a solution to your problem, but it's a solution to a problem that you don't have. I've got trains that I've only recently acquired, and they're just not going to run. They're going to sit up on a shelf, and I will take care of them. And in time, I may choose to move a couple of them along, but those trains are also a symbol of a long friendship I've had with this person over the years. And so I'm honored to have that collection still here. So anyhow, so that gets back. Speaking of which, in this case, that little bus guy going around there with the new car that came in yesterday, the second car that goes on it, that's a 60-year-old model, and I give a lot of props, but yeah, I managed to convert that to digital. Now, obviously, I had the bus part. Only the second car came in yesterday. I had the one. I've had it for a year and a half, but it only was made digital a few weeks ago. But anyhow, yeah, just like you. And by the way, if you guys don't know Eric from Bon Don Eisenbahn, don't let the name scare you. Even though the name is German and he's German, he speaks English 98% of the time. like me. Obwohl, wenn Sie wollten, können wir immer auf Deutsch sprechen, aber das ist ein ganzes Problem. But anyhow. Yeah, Attila, but I got to teach you how to spell it now. You may have one, but you got to learn how to spell it. Okay. But anyhow, yeah, I converted that to digital. I'm so glad I did, but I started digital. If I were analog and got a digital train, I'd probably want to convert it back to analog so it could run. But anyhow, going back to Eric here and his son Willie, they have a wonderful channel, and they, in my opinion, they need a lot more subscribers. He does great stuff. He does a lot of conversion. Yes, it's German stuff, but a lot of you watch me and I do German trains, and I watch you and you do UK trains or American trains and so forth. We can broaden our horizons and appreciate the trains of all cultures. And to be honest, I am most ignorant about my own home country trains. I know very little about American trains. I know more about German trains than I do American trains. I know Amtrak. I know the names of the companies, but the only train I even remotely have familiarity with is Amtrak. I give my kids credit. They both, after traveling by train in Germany, they've traveled by train in the United States. They're like, yeah, we've ridden trains in Germany. It's cheaper than driving. So my son and his friends went to Chicago on Amtrak, and my daughter went to Philadelphia a couple of times on Amtrak. You've been called worse. Antsy. You learned English when you began kindergarten. I learned the English when I anfang kindergarten. That's the best part, when you start speaking in die beiden Sprache at the selbe time. Or as we used to call it, Ami-Deutsch. Mom said we got to go. Okay. Bye, Ray. Thanks for hanging out with us. Well, I've learned many dialects of German and many dialects of English. That's why I always laugh when people start talking about proper language, like, you don't speak proper English. What is proper English? Well, there's this. Well, okay, are you talking MLA, SLA, Oxford, blah, 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 blah? I still fight with a lot of English teachers I knew over the Oxford comma. I refuse to accept that the word cannot is one word. It is two words, can and not. But now American MLA says, nope, it's two words, or it's one word, cannot, one word. Well, is are not one word? Is do not one word? I'm not talking about the contractions aren't and don't. If you're going to do it for one, do it for both. Or do it for all of them. Why all of a sudden is cannot one word? It's can, not, and if you want it one word, you contract it to can't. You don't know anything about Australian trains. They're a hybrid of UK and US trains. I can see that. I mean, clearly they had their own style, and the way they mixed them is definitely that. But yeah, I am done babbling, and we're halfway through. So I will post the link, and if anybody wants to hop up on the stream and talk so you don't have to listen to my voice, you can come on in. I do have a topic for next week we'll talk about, but because I guess I'm planning on doing this stream on Saturday. But remember, on my stream, and again, remember, this is not my show. It's on my channel. I'm hosting it, but I am just the substitute. I look kind of tall, but my heels are high. The simple things you say are all complicated. I look pretty young, but I'm just backdated. I'm a substitute for another guy. Attila. See, and you get into all the Australian versus New Zealand versus, there's English from Great Britain. And then there's Australian English, New Zealand English, all the variations of American English. And I could go on and on and on because I do have a master's in English as well as a degree in linguistics, which means I learned quite a bit about how languages work and form. And the first thing you got to learn about languages is they're fluid. They change. They grow and change. We don't talk the way we did back 150 years ago, and we won't talk this way. What is proper English today will not be proper English in 150 years. All right, we got two people ready to visit, so I'm going to pop them on stage. We have Randall, the Dandy Randy Ellison is here. Although I really can't say dandy because we got a lot of UK people here, and dandy in British English can have a slightly different meaning than the American version. So how you doing, Randall?
Doing pretty good. How about you, Anthony?
I'm doing okay for talking on the internet. And then speaking of English with a crazy accent, we have Attila. Welcome in, Attila.
Hey, folks. How are we?
Hey,
I just got a question, and I know.
All right, you just give me that question, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, that carriage that Jean Ricard sent you.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, did he put that in the dryer or the microwave to make it shrink? Because he looks a little bit smaller than the lead car.
It's but it is. It's an extended bus carriage, so yes, it's a bit shorter. Yep.
Yeah. Well, he got sandwiched in between two power units. He got shrunk.
Or it got cold and it had a little shrinkage. You're a man. You understand that.
Yeah. How are you, Randall?
doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, I'm alive, I think, after finding out on Friday that I'm actually dead, which was a shocking surprise to me. I've been dead for 7 years.
There's days I feel like I've been dead for about that long.
Uh-oh. Speaking of crazy accents, somebody woke up. Why is this person not in bed? It is 2:30 in the morning for this man. And he has come here to give me grief. I don't know. I've already got one. I've got an Aussie here to give me grief, and now we have a Dane.
Good
Hey,
evening,
John.
everybody. I heard my name mentioned,
You heard your name mentioned.
and therefore I had
Nobody, I repeat to you, nobody said Satan anywhere at any time in this broadcast. You did not hear your name.
heard my
Danes
name
are not
mentioned.
saints. We know Danes are not saints. They're thieves.
I said Satan, 2 syllables.
Satan. Yeah. Satan's
Anyhow,
more like it, yeah.
Jean Ricard, I got one more person in the basement. So you wanted to say before I rudely interrupted you again?
Oh, I just want to say the little car that follows the bus there is molded on an Australian. It's small and shrinked compared to a grown-up car that would otherwise be going after it. That's why it shrinked, Attila. That's why it shrinked.
Oh, because it's small and wide, like a certain Australian,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now that we're going to have the Australian-Danish war any minute, let's go ahead and bring in another Australian who maybe can add to the piece. Our friend Greg. Hi, Greg. It's great to see you on camera. It was better to see you in person.
Hang on. G'day, Greg. But wait a minute there, John. Greg is not short and fat. He's tall and fat.
That might be so, but the Australian that I have seen most is a little balded guy that is otherwise known as Arty.
Sound is not working.
Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah. Oh, Arty, yeah. Well, he's in the hole. So, yeah, we don't worry about that bastard.
Yeah. And you know what's really awesome here is this is the first time I've seen Greg on camera live. Okay. He did do a live stream I missed, but it's the first time actually seeing him and talking to him. since I actually was in that room, he's in there. I've actually stood in that room. I can't tell you how tickled I am to be seeing that now and go, I was there.
That's nice, but was it?
It's actually nice to see.
Hang on, Arty. Hang on. I mean, Attila.
Yep.
Jean, you were saying real quick?
I was wondering who you wanted a response from, because everybody felt silent after you had said you were there, you know.
They could feel the joy in my voice, and they wanted me to enjoy the moment.
I'm sorry. It's just that I heard also your comment on the English language, you know. And to be perfectly honest, as a Dane that doesn't speak English, I would say that there's just proper English, and then there's all the colonial dialects that you all speak on this channel, you know, whoever you are. Because it doesn't.
There we go.
seem
That
like
proper English BS again. Step aside. Just because you got taught probably Oxford English with the Oxford program. Step aside. Step down. Leave it to the people who actually have degrees in English.
Hang on a minute. Jean Ricard and the Danes must have copied the Australian English, because they come over here and steal our women.
Well, we do it the Viking way, you know that, Attila. We do it the Viking way.
For those who don't know, the King of Denmark married a Australian woman.
Actually, a Tasmanian woman of Scottish origin.
Yeah, but she comes from the Tasmania, was known as Van Diemen's Land.
Excuse me. We have to explain something once again to Jean Ricard. Jean Ricard, what country is Tasmania a part of?
Well, I
answer the question, Your Honor. I would like to treat this man as a hostile witness. And if not, I'm just going to be hostile to him anyhow. Jean Ricard, what country for the 64,000 Kronig?
Tasmania.
What country is Tasmania a part of?
Tasmania.
Tick, 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 tick. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. Thank you for playing. Please understand that in this game show, you always had to put something up to bet against. And because you were trying to win the new living room furniture, you now must sacrifice your living room furniture to the show. Thank you for playing. Why don't you try a home version of our game? Anyhow, Tasmania is in fact part of Australia. And so, yes, they married an Australian woman, which is the point you made to begin with. So I'm sorry. Anyhow, Greg just turned on to his other bit, and we've got one more person in the basement. This is it. I don't pay for StreamYard. Why? I've got that stupid logo up in that corner. This logo right here next to my face is a lovely logo, as is that one, designed by my amazing talented daughter. These two logos. But that StreamYard logo. Anyhow, Greg, you're back on camera, but I think you're watching on the delay.
Yeah, I'm having issues, sound issues. So,
well, you're good now.
am I? Well, not from my end, but anyway.
Okay, no, you're good, and it is good to see you. How are you doing today?
Oh, much the same. Nice.
Okay.
I go through. It's like riding a roller coaster. That's basically what it's like. And sometimes I'm really dizzy. Like if I start typing in the chat, that'll just make me spin out. So that's why I don't always type. It's easier for me to chat like this than to type the text.
So now, Greg, if you don't mind, I want to let these people kind of know. You've talked about it on your channel, so it's not necessarily. Greg has been fighting cancer and is going through, he went through chemotherapy. Now he's taking chemo drugs, and they beat the crap out of him.
So, it's a bit of a struggle at times, but it's easier, as I said, to chat like this. And it is very much like riding a roller coaster. And my drug has been upped again in the last 2 weeks, so it normally takes about 4 weeks to settle down before I can start getting back to what I call reasonably normal.
I've been chatting with Greg for at least 4 years because we started chatting during COVID when we were all hitting everybody's live streams. Greg does N-scale and he does amazing lighting on his buildings. And if you go back, I hate to say if you go back, but if you go to his channel and go back to his videos 2-3 years ago before life happened, he's got all these brilliant videos about how he coordinated his lights and had them all set up. Now, you're in the process of rebuilding your layout. And Mark, I know you're in the basement. We will get to you if you're listening. We'll bring you up. I want to let Greg have whatever Greg wants to mention here, because this is the hardest thing about a panel is it can be quiet and nobody's talking. Then all of a sudden, everybody tries to talk at the same time.
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of updating it. I've had it's in a garage, and here in Australia, for those who don't understand, it can get very, very hot. So things sort of start to go a bit wiry during the summer period. Plus, I had nearly 2 years where I couldn't model because of I spent 8 weeks in hospital at a cancer hospital here. So that sort of really has taken me a long time to get over. So for those people who don't quite get it, it's not just about having the cancer and having chemo treatment. I had all my major muscles in my inside between my rib cage and my pubic bone cut. And so all those repairs, so even just simple things like bending over, which most people can do, I can't. So it's taken me a long time to get back into it. And of course, now I've got 2 grandsons, and I'm trying to keep one of them really well entertained, which I am. And so we've updated the layout, increased it, which means some of the older stuff has been left behind for the moment, but it's getting there, and I'll get back to it soon.
So if you're not subscribed, check out Greg's channel, as well as check out everybody's channel. You can even check out Jean Ricard's channel. Every now and then, like once every 3 years, he puts up a video.
Yep, I do. I check most of the people out in the chat. Trust me. I might not always comment, but I do actually look at a lot of channels because that's what keeps me sane.
I spend way too much time watching you. I mean, I don't watch regular TV. I watch YouTube train channels and occasional comedy channels.
I've got to say, if I may
sometimes
say,
my own, which happily combines both. My channel gives you trains and comedy.
Yeah,
is that what you call it, comedy? Okay.
Well, the comedy is always great, as you know. I really enjoy, and I was actually a character in one of the.
Yes, you were General Viscount.
Correct. It didn't last long, but that's all right.
But
You had your moment of glory. You were one of the characters as well. Jean Ricard, of course, was Stanley Steam here, the master villain.
Yep.
And then Attila had an appearance as Sal Dressing, the veterinarian, the retired veterinarian that they needed to talk about with the anthrax deal in Series 3, although he did have a strong attraction to a sheep. And then Randall was Fredo. So everybody on screen except me has been an actual character. I've never put myself in Matt Clark. I've never used myself as a character. I don't know if I ever will, but I have used my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather and several great uncles as background characters throughout.
You're going to have to come back as Kahat's father.
As the Kahat's father? No, Kahat's father's dead.
Oh. Well, Kahat's son,
Well,
missing son.
You have been the ghost of 2015, so why couldn't you be the ghost of Kahat's father? You would be excellent at that. And
because that's a totally different show and a different day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring Mark up on stage. He's been patiently waiting in the basement, the dungeon, the green room, whatever you want to call it.
The room.
Mark, you're free and you're on screen now. Hello, Mark.
How you doing? You right? I've got, yeah, you can see what I'm doing.
Our next caller is Mark from Britain, and Mark says that he runs N-scale trains. Many he's customized himself, and he is currently working on a building.
Yep. You can see it. That's what I'm working on.
It's a Metcalf building. Okay. I got one. I got one from a magazine I'm featured in. Featured.
Okay.
I'm in one picture. The British Railway Modeler magazine. And yeah, Joyce and I appear in a picture.
That's like getting a photo taken and put in the Rolling Stones magazine.
Hey, for model railroaders, this is the Rolling Stone. But yeah, our names aren't there. It doesn't advertise my channel or anything, but we just happen to be in the right place at the right time. And they took our picture at the layout there at the Warley thing. And then because the guy who took the picture is the editor of this magazine, he stuck us in there. So
If you talk about Greg, I mean, both myself and Arty, in the early days when we started streaming, actually Greg helped us along the way in learning how to do the streaming and popping up. So to Greg, thank you, and anybody else, blame him for it. For getting us up here.
It's part of the community, even now, not only just back then, we all help each other. It's not about it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about everyone helping each other. And that's what this community is about. We learn from each other. I'm crap at cutting wood and all sorts of things, but other people do, cut wood. It's and I say that because my grandfather was a builder, and when I mean a builder, he was a really good builder. And I can't cut a piece of wood for love of money, but it's just one of those things. And so we help each other and we learn from each other. We learn little tricks, and the tricks help.
Yeah, and talking about learning from grandfathers and that, and talking about the communities. I was earlier in the week up at a place down here. Greg will know it. It's called the Zigzag Railways. Now they got basically destroyed, and the bushfires we had here year 2019, 2020 summer, and they got it back up and running. And I was talking to the lady, and just quickly talked about it and go, I'm just making some videos so the viewers from overseas can see what's come about. And I talked about our community, how we all help each other out, stick together and promote each other. And she's like, yeah, well, that's what it's all about.
There's a certain Australian thing that people just look. Here's a good example. This is what people like in Australia. I used to be the CEO of a car and bike show, and every year we would run this car and bike show. It was pretty big, It was in Cranbourne, so Arty knows where I'm talking about, and we're opposite Bunnings on this big oval. And we used to have, something like 500 cars, 300 bikes, kids' rides, stalls, all sorts of things. We even had an F1 car. And this guy used to come and appear and help with traffic management, because we used to have a lot of traffic. As soon as the car show had finished, he disappeared. Now, that just shows you how much people just jump in and do stuff. And finally, after about the 4th year or the 5th year, we actually caught up with him and found out that he lived across the road, and he actually had some Leyland P76s. And he just loved cars, but people just jump in and help. And it's about that Australian mateship, I suppose.
It is. And that's what a good thing about the Australian region, particularly in the region, is outside the city centres. A lot of it's still about, but sadly, in a lot of city region, that's slowly dying. But you get out of the city, you still get it.
Yep.
Like where you are.
I can remember one Christmas when my wife's dad was still alive. He was a farmer, and there was one farmer who was really struggling. His wife had died, and after we had Christmas lunch, they all went over to his place and baled hay for him.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's just the way Australia is. Or when the other good example is my wife's brother suddenly died, but no one found him. There was a guy across the road who went and checked up on him and found that he had died. So he helped our family out so much. You cannot.
That's a bit personal, Andy.
You cannot get it. You know, it's and that was only 3 years ago. You know, and he was such a great help to the family. So it still happens.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Randall.
Yeah.
Since we haven't really heard from you much, what are you working on right now?
I'm just changing the couplers on this Atlas center beam flat car, and for whatever reason, Atlas on some of the rolling stock they put Accumate couplers on there, and if you've ever had to deal with them, the Accumates, they're not that great of a design because they're like a two-piece coupler, and for those that don't know what they look like, and I've got the one I just pulled off here. So
That can be a good thing or that could be a bad thing.
yeah, I've got it right here. If I can figure out how to orient it, but
Swami, those were wonderful words. Thank you for those enlightening words, Swami. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. Oh, the deepness.
but anyway, there we go. That's what they look like right there, and they're a two-piece coupler. And these things are pretty bad to catch on details, and it'll actually pull them open and they'll uncouple from the train. So they're not exactly my most favorite design of coupler out there. So,
Atlas, they actually did have a different coupler where it was two-piece, but
So-
you didn't have that
so-
magnetic.
Randall, hold that coupler up again.
all right.
Is there ever a time where you need to circumcise those?
I mean, I keep them around for emergencies, but
Circumcise like you circumcise your passengers, Anthony.
That's not circumcision. That's amputation.
Oh, that's amputation? I don't know.
Yeah,
Some
there's a
call that
difference.
circumcise.
There's a difference. About 1 octave difference.
mm.
Good night, folks. So, Jean Ricard, what are you working on that you're up at almost 3 a.m. in the morning in Denmark?
I'm waiting.
You're waiting for what?
I'm
A
waiting
bus?
for an Amtrak car that hasn't arrived yet.
Oh, well, yeah, you might have to wait a few days for that, even as quickly as the mail works over there.
Well,
I turned it off because I went full screen here.
well, if you're waiting on an Amtrak car and knowing the way Amtrak operates, it never runs on time. So you'll be waiting for a while.
Yeah, just a second,
Okay.
Attila. We have to explain this. Papa John, your friend Arty is still lost, although long is questionable. But he is lost. He is not really here.
Yeah, he's lost.
This is Attila Varga, who just
Yeah,
because he's from Australia, he's from that same area of Australia. They sound a lot alike in that region. Trust me. And this is how the women sound.
Oh,
Oh no, they got deeper voice.
Right, yes. You
Yep,
want
they-
to die?
Mm-hmm. You want the gravy?
Good night, Willie. And see, Willie's watching this, and I'm like, I keep forgetting there's
Good
a
night,
kid
guys.
watching. But then again,
This seems like the late night adult show.
well, there's adult, and then there's adult. And we're not going to adult. We're just at adult.
Yeah.
And calling this an adult show, considering the immaturity that the hosts, notice plural, bring to this show, it's hard to call anything about the show adult. That's why we in the business like to use the term blue. We work a little blue at times.
And abnormal.
Oh, okay. It's because of your culture. You are just light blue, because you definitely.
No, he's been converted. He's been converted, John. It's not because of his culture. He's been converted. It's been hanging around us Aussies too long.
Okay.
There's 2 different live streams on concurrently, and it's showing in our audience. All right. Good night, Chris. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks, Chris.
See you, Chris.
Another one of the great guys. And he was the first person, even before me, to get a Knights of the Round Boy Table t-shirt, and he posted on YouTube. I was so proud. I need to go and steal that picture off of his post, and then also take a picture of Dino wearing his, because there are a few people now getting their Knights of the Round Boy Table shirts. I'm so proud. And now I've got to start putting this logo on some merchandise that I can wear it. I don't care who else wears it. I want that. I want that on a shirt.
Well, it's a nice try to get more sold, change the logo a bit so that you can see who is.
Well, I mean, it is a change, but the actual Knights of the Round Boy Table logo hasn't been changed. This is what I wanted all along, but she did the basic design, and then I was like, well, that's good. I'm happy with that, but I always did want it as a weapon. I wanted it as a shield, Knights. I wanted the shield, and she out of the blue hit me a week or so ago and said, Dad, what do you think of this? Ooh, that's cool, my wonderful darling.
It is very cool.
But I just don't like the colors. It's red and white.
Yeah, red and white. Red and white. Like my other logo, red and white. And like my favorite trains, the ICEs, white and red.
Yeah, but
Deutsche Bahn trains, which are either white or red. I'm all about the white and red. And the Austrian flag is white and red. The Swiss flag is white and red. The Danish flag is white and red, and that was the only reason I debated on changing the colors. No,
actually,
but the real reason is because of the Liverpool flag. Be honest.
No, the one.
No.
That is Japanese, the Red Sun, and the other side is the Polish Air Force.
There's that one too.
Yeah,
but. No, the whole reason this is red and white, the whole reason this original logo was red and white is because it's ICEs, and I do German trains, and Deutsche Bahn, the German rail system, passenger trains are red, ICEs are white. Passenger trains are red, usually with a small white stripe. The high-speed trains are white with a red stripe down. So white and red. It just happens that Liverpool is the Liverpool Reds, up the Reds. And there's just other reasons for white and red, and it just works. It works. It's beauteous. The land of the rising Dodge.
Of course, it's beautiful, especially the red flag with the white cross is beautiful.
There is a place in Ohio. They call the rising Dodge.
Okay, that's the show over. It's going to rain now.
Hey, blame Andy. I'm merely singing what he wrote.
Whoever's been singing, my cats have just buggered off.
Oh, if only that would work in my house.
Yeah, but
stand by an open door and start singing. I'll get my coat. Yeah, that's the other one. I always use good night, folks, but the other one, I'll get my coat.
Yeah.
But
I think I've told you the story, Anthony, when I was staying with my family in Long Eaton. I'm not allowed to wear red because they all back barrack for the Derby team, and of course red is not Liverpool or Manchester, so I had to take my red jumper off. I wasn't allowed to wear it at all.
I tell you.
Yeah, that's about right there, Papa John. That's about right.
Yeah. But I guess fortunately my English accent is not Liverpool or Manchester. It is very much, when I do slip into it, it's very much a Yorkshire or a Nottingham accent.
Mm.
I long ago studied the various accents, and I can usually distinguish. I can distinguish Birmingham from Monk, as they call it, from Liverpool. But the problem is a lot of channels I follow are Liverpool guys that now live in Manchester, poor guys, and the Manchester people that now live in Liverpool or what have you. And over time, your accents meld. You don't even recognize it, but it changes. Like I watched my mom when I was a kid. My mom had a very distinctive Tennessee accent, not a pure one because she also had lived in Wyoming. My mom grew up all over the United States because her dad worked for basically Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Works Progress Administration, but he worked in the nuclear. He was involved in building the nuclear plants around America. So they lived in Wyoming for a bit. Then he worked on the one in Tennessee, and then he worked on Fermi 1 and Fermi 2 in Detroit, which is why they moved to the Toledo area. I found it interesting that my grandfather was always a joke in my family, but I found it interesting that my grandfather worked on the nuclear power plants, but he made sure he lived at least 40 miles away from the plant he was working on. Actually, he was also working on Davis-Besse, so he lived where he was between the two, Fermi and Davis-Besse, which is outside of Toledo, so he lived between the two. But when I was a kid, my mom had a little bit of an accent. By the time I got older, it had disappeared. And then she went and lived for a month with her relatives in Wyoming, and she came back, and that little bit of her Western accent came back for a bit. Not like she was suddenly speaking like she's from out West, but definitely a little bit of that twang was in there because you start mimicking the accents you hear around you. It's the brain's natural desire, even in language, that when you live with people, you want to fit in, and your brain starts saying, here's how they say this.
Yeah, well, I had the same experience with my dad. So when my dad was alive, he was always born in England and didn't come out here until he was, in his 25, 30, something like that. And never believed that he had an accent. And he went back home and stayed with my auntie and came back with a really broad accent. It was the first time I'd ever heard my dad's accent. But the same thing. When I stay with my auntie, I become a real Yorkshire person. You hear my accent, and my auntie's accent gets even worse because I start picking up what she's saying, and then she picks up what I'm saying, and her accent gets so broad, it's bizarre. Yeah,
but the thing is, that's how we learn language. We learn language. I mean, it goes through stages. If you have a baby, a newborn, a few weeks old, a month old, and when you talk to that baby, when you people always say, the baby won't look me in the eyes. No, the baby is literally hardwired, programmed. It looks at your mouth. And if you watch a young baby while you're talking to it, their lips, look, they're trying to speak. Yeah, they actually are. They are watching what you're doing, and their brain is programmed to try to mimic what you're doing. That's why this is a joke I used to do with my students because the first week of foreign language classes, I would always teach them how languages develop. And I said, you notice how people always talk funny to babies, like, oh, look at the little baby boy. Oh, aren't you a sweetie? Literally, if everybody talked like that 24/7 around that kid would grow up speaking that way.
Yeah. No, we never talked to our daughter, and we never talked to any kids with that sort of baby language. It's always an adult. And when she was just over 2.5, we went around the world And every time we went to a place, we made sure she actually said the place's name.
No.
Not you know, something else. We made sure that she could speak, and she is very clever and very smart about that. So, and we never thought baby. This is very true. Australians sound like me. That no.
Oh, we're gonna get across the.
For a start, we don't go hey after every sentence.
It's the other way around, Southern Cross. It's the other way around.
Come on, you're both rejects from England. Just accept it and move on. Instead of hating each other, you should be teaming together.
Oh, don't worry. We would team together. We do team.
One of you is descended from criminals and the other one's descended from mutineers. Get over it.
Yeah, but when it comes to crunch, we'll stick together. Don't you worry.
Hang on. Jean, what were you saying?
This is just an example of how the British are very broad-minded and has allowed all the people of the Commonwealth to use their language, and they start arguing with one another, you know. It's so nice to hear you, both those of the Commonwealth countries and those of the lost colonies like you, Anthony. That you
No, hang on, Sean. Hang on. Us Aussies and New Zealanders, we don't hate each other, except when it comes to cricket, football, and whatever else. But we actually love each other.
And language.
Yeah.
Of course you do, and you even play world games on like the rugby scene, and the Americans are completely fooled off by they have a football they call World Series, and the only one that participates in it is actually the American.
Yeah.
Wrong. The Canadians participate too.
But the thing is, we tell that.
I'm sorry.
Show the
there
world.
You go. You know what? You know what, Jean Ricard? Get some Danes together, form a baseball team, come on over and let us abuse you. Because that's what we did with the Japanese, where the Japanese, hey, we play baseball too. And then they brought their team over and the American team spanked them.
Yeah,
it's our sport. In fact, you took our sport, basketball, and then you change all the international rules to make it easier for you guys to beat us.
You know,
because it's our game. We have certain rules that we grow up playing. We play these rules in high school, college, the pros. The only thing that's different is the timing and maybe the distance. And then all of a sudden you guys come and say, let's see, the Americans dominate this game and we need to beat them at their national sports. And although technically basketball was invented by a Canadian, but he was in the United States when he did, so it's our sport. So we're going to change the free throw area like this, and we're going to change the way we do this and this, and we're going to change the rules on how to dribble and so we all can learn it that way. And the Americans who grow up playing it a different way, when they play us, can't do it our way, and we will win. And if they still try to win, we will pay the judges to cheat them like the Russians did at the '72 Olympics. Sorry.
That's a bit like rugby, bloody. You got union, rugby league, and rugby union.
Yeah.
The two codes are very slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was funny, not last week, and a weekend before, we had one of the New York Yankee baseball players or ex-coaches down here teaching our young kids. And, of course, I'm a Cubs fan, so I went down there with the Cubs hat on. He sort of like didn't really welcome me there for some reason, but maybe it's because I said they can't play. But it was very, very interesting because baseball is actually picking up here in my area.
Oh, I was amazed in 2015, our second to last trip to Germany. We took a train from Delmenhorst, Bremen down to Koblenz because we're going to stay actually just south of Koblenz. And we saw signs advertising. We saw signs, and then we actually saw the fields. There were two professional baseball teams. They were either pro or semi-pro, but they were professional teams and they had signs advertising their series against each other. And then we pass a field. And I was like, soccer field, soccer field, soccer field, soccer field. I'm sorry, football pitch, football pitch, football pitch, football pitch. And then baseball diamonds. I was like, baseball? My students were like, Mr. Dodge, are those baseball fields? Yes, they are. And I was like, wow.
Well, if you remember when you visited Arty, if you went down towards the freeway, not far from the freeway at his place, that's where they got two baseball diamonds down there for the young kids to play.
I'm starting to worry about you a bit, Attila. You seem to know way too much about Arty and his life. You might be one of those insurance company spies that are giving him grief.
No. We went to school together.
Right.
Oh,
that's how you went to school together, so that's how you know about how he's living now and what's in his neighborhood now.
Well, you remember when he took you up to Lake Heights to show the site?
I'd like to just take this moment and say hello to all the insurance people watching this live stream today.
I actually live up the top of the hill. I look down on him.
Most people look down on Arty. He's kind of...
Yeah, he's short, but I'm on top of the hill. He's on the bottom.
I love going for walks. Joyce and I love going for walks with Arty because Joyce had somebody she could look down on, and Arty made a great armrest for me when we stopped.
That's what it was good for.
It's probably why he's bald.
I'm looking forward to one day to see Attila, to see a tall and blonde and handsome young Australian man.
Whoa! Time out. Jean Ricard, this is not pick up a date site, okay? Just
I don't swing that way, Sean. Sorry, buddy. I don't swing that way, buddy.
I'm hoping to find one day a tall blonde gentleman from. Okay, you know what? We need to
see.
Yeah.
Immediately,
I'm sorry. Finish your thought, John. But
immediately you're back on the light blue side of everything, Anthony. You know, you're so amazing. You know,
I can't help it. I have two types of comedy, and I won't do the other one here. Actually, three types, but my violent political satire I keep off. Yeah. Violence, not the right word. Vicious political satire I keep off. So I can do clean humor, but I do clean humor. A lot of my jokes are just funny too, but yes, I like to dance around the edge of the blue area. Yes.
That is true. Anthony is a tall blonde gentleman. I don't know about gentleman, but
I'm not blonde anymore. I was a tall blonde. The thing is, I started out white hair as a little kid, and it just got blonde. And then I was what they used to call dirty dishwater blonde by the time I was 18, 19. And then by the time I was 30, 32, 33, it was very dark brown. And then it fell out. So basically it went through phases like leaves where that just slowly changes colors and then fall off the tree. That's what my hair did.
Well, as a baby, I was blonde and I ended up going black. And now I've got nothing.
Now I'm white and gray.
Yeah, well,
I gave myself a haircut and a shave. If you look at my video from yesterday, or even this morning, where I did the today's opening, because I filmed those the night before. Like after I get off here, I'll go over there and film it. My beard was a little longer and my hair was a little puffier, but yeah, I gave myself a shave and a trim this morning.
So that's why you look like an 8-ball now.
That was John.
I think I look more like the 9-ball, not the 8-ball. The 8-ball, that's a totally different thing. Maybe the cue ball. The cue ball, maybe.
Egghead from Batman.
You know, you shouldn't be talking there, Jean Ricard. You're not exactly a full-headed Elvis Pompadour guy yourself.
Just add more polish.
Well, I can grow it back opposite you.
Maybe so. Maybe so, but
When you
on the bright side, I'm
compare
taller than
my-
most people, so they can't look down on that bald head like I can on yours.
True, he's quite tall.
That might
It's
be
funny,
so.
it's funny, I always felt like I was tall until I met Anthony, and now I feel small.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But they do say board is the new sexy now. So we're right.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, Joyce actually had a natural leaning towards bald men. Her dad and her favorite uncle were both bald, and she had a thing for. She didn't mind hair, but when I went bald, she was totally cool with it. So, as I always told people, as I always told my students, I had my hair when I needed it.
We needed it.
When I needed to. And the fact is, when I really had the hair, like when I went hippie in high school, after I left high school and after I left West Point, and then, right around the time I met Joyce, I had gone really hippie and big beard. And when I had the hair, girls weren't interested in me. And then I met Joyce, and it was like, that's it. I don't need to continue this game. I retired. I hit a home run my first at bat, and I retired.
Lucky bugger. No, the only time any female took interest in me down here, and the way it works down here is when you got a partner. It's the only time they take interest in you. Geez, it creates trouble.
Yeah, that's true. The most annoying thing, Eric, and of course, for example, with me, I can't grow it on the top of my head, but holy moly, in the ears, hair in the ears. Oh my God, my ears. I'm like a Yeti when it comes to the ears. Big, furry, white. It drives me crazy. I'm constantly trimming my ears.
One day's growth is equivalent to, 2 or 3.
There we go, guys.
When I was growing up, my parent or the adults like my parent, my father and my grandfather, my cousins, and that always said, "Here, eat some drink some palinka or rakia. You'll put hairs on your chest." I
had a lot of your uncle's palinka, and there's not much hair on this chest.
Now you got to drink more. You need to catch up.
I've not only got hairs on my chest, I've got a train track down my stomach.
Oh God!
Show off.
Please, let's not get into the. Can I show you my scars? No.
Well,
No, I've got legs that would make a lot of women jealous because I don't have a lick of hair on them. My dad was a gorilla, but my mom claims it's some sort of genetic thing from her side of the family. But yeah, I did have some hair on my legs as a teenager, but as I got older, it's just my legs are just ridiculously. I even hate to wear shorts in the summer because my legs are just so pale.
I got the same problem with my legs, but that's only because
you shave. I've seen your sink. You shave your legs.
Yeah. In the last 20, 25 years, because of work, we've been forced to wear long pants at work all the time. One, because of the sun and the areas that we worked at, we actually were forced to wear long pants. And, of course, that stops you from your hairs on your legs from growing when you're always walking, So, yeah.
The one thing you have to be careful of with bald head is getting sunburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the way it's been up here. It's been in the mid to high 30s up here all week. And
It's been pretty
humidity
warm
goes
here
up to,
too.
and up in the humidity at the evening has been that strong that you can actually see sea fog coming in and going up in the mountains, and it just flows up to the north. It's been crazy here. Then it goes all hot. We haven't been able to sleep properly here during the night. It's been so hot. 26 degrees at night.
Yeah.
I don't know what temperature is here. I'll have to look.
Why are we moving around like this?
Who's moving what around, John? It's all in your head. I haven't moved anything. It's all in your head.
I'm going to say goodbye because I'm starting to really struggle right now. So I'll say goodbye and say goodbye to everybody in the chat. Have a great night.
Okay, Greg.
All
You
right,
take
have a
it.
good one.
Greg, thank you. It was such a pleasure to meet you and your lovely wife. And again, I am actually just giddy watching here going, I was actually in that room. Yes, I am very giddy about silly things like that in life.
So
Pleasures that you can.
do. I mean, did you see what I sent you?
Yeah.
Well, that goes all around the world.
Oh, okay.
And that's the way we do our Christmas cards. And I put it in there because it was a big thing for you to come and see me. It was
Right.
You say it was your pleasure, but it was my pleasure. Yeah. Anyway, we'll have to.
We pleased each other. Good night, folks. Oh. All right. Oh, Greg, it was wonderful. Thank you. Take care. Take care, my friend.
Yeah, it was lucky that the phone was flat at the time, so we couldn't see them pleasing each other when they were visiting each other. Oh, geez.
We've now become an Agatha Christie novel, and then there were 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to call it quits soon too, because we've got things to do here.
You've got things to do.
Yeah, I'll give it another 5 minutes, and then I'll have to get going too, because.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of end early. I'm still going to try to end before, rather than go the full 2 hours. But I did finish writing Matt Clark today, so now I need to start putting things together and see if I can get it out in time for Christmas. I'm excited about it. I read some more bits to Joyce, and she was giggling. So I think overall it's a winner.
Oh, good. Good.
There's one thing that's for sure, and that is Joyce is the most patient wife that I know of. She's giggling of everything that you say and write, And
Yeah, Joyce giggles all the time, especially when I'm naked, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
No,
we don't need to go. We don't need to go there, Anthony.
What do you mean we don't need to go there? We went there, parked the bus, and built a city. Yeah, I mean, Joyce has to be. Joyce has put up with me for, we are 2 days away from 41 years. Oh, we've got somebody else in the basement. Oh, wow. Good. This strings it out. We got now the Aussies are going to be kind of outnumbered now.
Okay.
Welcome to the stage for the first time ever, Eric from Von Don Eisenbahn. Eric, how wonderful to see you.
Hello, Eric.
Hey, Eric.
Oh, bloody hell. Help.
Eric, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Eric, that is one epic beard, sir.
Say something.
Well, he was. His mic's not working at the moment.
Okay.
His microphone's got the same virus as Greg's did.
So we have a Dane. We got a. Now, Eric, you can nod. Were you born in Germany or were you born in Germany? No, you were born here. Your dad came over, right? So you're first generation. I'm second generation. If you count 3 of my 4 grandparents. If you count the Dodges, we've been here since the 1600s. But my other three grandparents that were involved in the making of me some way genetically were all off the boat Germans at the turn of the century.
Well, my parents, they weren't convicts. They actually flew over here. They actually bought an airline ticket to come over here in the 60s. So my generation.
Good. I'm glad you clarified that they bought an airline ticket, because otherwise I was just picturing them flapping all the way from Serbia and Hungary like this.
Yeah.
Don't they ride broomsticks in Serbia and Hungary?
No, that's Romania. That's Romania.
That's Romania.
Okay.
That's Romania. They
So
ride.
Eric, yeah, we're still not getting your he's gonna reboot.
Oopsies.
We were all just jealous of his beard, so we had to kick him out.
Okay. I hope he will return.
Me too. I think it would be awesome. It's awesome when we have, like, when Luma comes to the show and comes up. It just adds personality and creates a different chemistry. In fact, we haven't seen Luma in a while. I hope he's okay.
Yeah. Have you ever tried asking Andy Hot Dog Pilot to join?
I don't ask anybody. I say, here's the link if you would like to come up. Therefore, I'm not putting pressure on them. They get to choose.
Okay. I the only reason why I ask is because I know he makes a stream later today.
Yes, he's got a stream.
So
that for you is later today. For me is tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but
which is a great little stream.
I was just thinking that he might, if you can do that, you might be able to join this as well. You know, that's
look, Jean. Instead of doing this third-party passive-aggressive bit, why don't you say, "Hey, Andy, come on screen, if you will."
Yeah.
Wasn't
Andy.
that what I said in a very polite
No.
way?
Yeah, we call it was passive-aggressive. Instead of you saying it, you put it on me like I was doing something mean and neglecting him. You try to paint me in a bad light, Jean Ricard.
Yeah, just like you do with me every time.
No, I don't have to paint you. The photograph is there for everybody to see.
Yeah, but you still paint, you know, you still paint. If I don't say something, you paint. If I say something, you paint. You even
Not me.
dared calling me.
No
saint.
brushing my hands. You're there. Everybody sees. Everybody
even-
sees how you come in and pick on me. And then how you suddenly, and then after you pick on me so much, when Joyce comes on the live stream, all of a sudden you're Mr. Oh, hi, Joyce. It's so lovely to see you. The voice of an angel, blah, 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 blah. And then
Yeah,
your
of
husband
course.
is blah, blah, blah.
Of course, it's like watching yin and yang. You know, the symbol where the one part is black. And basically, you're
The other part is white. What are you trying to say, Jean? You better watch your little Danish self here now.
I'm staying out of this fight, so.
Yeah, I'm keeping that.
No, you're not, Randall. You just interrupted it, which means you can't play Switzerland anymore. You just got involved.
Oh no, I can't play Switzerland. That was
No,
my
you
wife's goal.
want to play Switzerland where you're neutral.
Oh,
Although Switzerland did announce that they're finally coming out of their official neutrality. In all the world conflicts, they are no longer going to be neutral. They've decided they're going to side with one of the sides.
Mm.
The winners.
That's why I'm moving bush.
If
Never
you
mind.
speak, the doggy will wake the house. There's a story there we don't want to get into. If I speak, the doggy will wake the house.
Yeah, I've got American locos. I think I've got roughly about 70 of them. But I won't run
Does
up my
anybody
back.
here do American locomotives? Yes, Chase Railway Lines. Randall, if you could wave your screwdriver there. Oh, okay, he's showing it here. We'll put him up. But yes, we have people who do locos from around the world.
SD7, SD9.
But this is a show based out of Australia, although I'm not in Australia or an Australian.
if
Although
you're Santa Fe Coast,
Arty's trying to get me
yeah.
adopted. Arty's trying to get me adopted. But then Jean Ricard's trying to get me adopted in Denmark too.
Yeah, but I'll win. I'll win.
I don't know. You guys don't get enough snow where you live. You get it in the mountains, but not down in the common level.
Yeah, and I do know for one thing that Joyce will prefer it here with no snow than being over there with snow.
No, on the contrary, Joyce likes snow. Joyce wants to live in a place. Joyce and I both like snow. She wants to live in a place where there's hopes for a white Christmas.
Well, we can go up the Blue Mountains.
It's not the same.
And we got a better looking Grand Canyon than what you got in the United States.
Yeah. The Grand Canyon is far away from us too. We live in a very flat, boring area of the country. But still, Australia is beautiful. Not going to live on the coast down there. It's too expensive.
That's why we go inland. But it's always Antarctica.
Well, anyhow, Chase, we have just given you your blue spanner. So, Chase, if you would like to post a link to your channel, you can post it in the chat now. And maybe some of us, although we don't have a big crowd tonight, some of us will hear. So Andy Hot Dog Pilot here does UK, but if you watch his stream, which is 1 p.m. UK time, GMT -0, or however they adjust it for daylight savings, or whatever. But he's in the UK and he does British, but he has quite a few American trains. He says slightly, but he actually has quite a few American trains. And his American train has been growing. I know because I've been helping him grow it. I've been acting as the middleman. I move the supply to the user. I move the supply to the user.
Yeah, we're in mixed bag here, Chase.
And
we're in mixed bag. We're realistic, and some of us do fantasy, and then we model. Basically, we modelers from all over the world. We've got European, we've got British, we've got American, we've got Australian, and
Attila does Australian and American, and lately he's been doing Austrian,
yes,
and even a little German.
We kind of wonder why.
And then Jean Ricard does German, Danish, and
Australian.
Acting.
Oh, sorry, trains.
You just do Märklin, so it doesn't matter where from you do Märklin. I do primarily Central European, German and Austrian and Czech trains. I do AC3 rail. But I do have a small board layout that is 00 British locos.
Well, basically, you discussed before that what I would say, the top layout is a layout because it's, you have tracks and connections with points and so on. Whereas you have a track circle on the floor for the British trains.
Mm-hmm.
The two rails. That's not a layout. That's just two ovals.
It's a layout.
Hey, Mr. Snob.
It's a layout.
No,
Still a layout.
It's a break.
You're one of the people that yelled at me saying that I shouldn't be calling this a train table and I should call this a layout. Now you turn around and saying the UK stuff on the floor is not a layout. It has a building with it, so that's no different than this. It's just the number of buildings.
It's actually track laid out, so it's a layout.
Jean Ricard, you're starting to sound like this joke, and we'll see if you get it.
Uh-oh.
A man sees a beautiful woman at a bar, and he walks over to her and he says, "Hey, would you have sex with me for $100?
Oh,
would you go to bed with me? Would you go to bed with me for $100?" She says, "Absolutely not. What kind of a woman do you think I am?" He says, "What about $1,000? "Absolutely not. Leave me alone." "How about $10,000? "No." "All right. If $100,000, would you go to bed with me?" Here it is right here. $100,000, would you go to bed with me? She says, "Yeah, I could do you for $100,000.
Well,
He says, So you won't do it for 100? Absolutely not. What kind of a girl do you think I am? He says, well, we've already decided what kind of girl you are. Now we're just arguing over price.
Yeah, exactly.
So 1 building, it's a train table. 5 buildings, it's a layout or whatever.
No,
We don't judge in this. You know, there's too many people that get judgy and start saying that's not a layout. If you call it a layout, it's a layout. That is my UK layout.
So what do you call a person laying on the floor? Laid out.
Well, when I do it on the floor, you know, I don't have a layout on the floor. I just have a circle of tracks there. But if I put in a point, it's a layout.
That's a technicality.
Jean Ricard loves to argue technicalities. He tries to find that one margin where he thinks he can squeeze his point in, regardless of how much the facts are against him. He should have been a defense attorney in a previous life.
He just wants to win. That's what it is.
And he can't. Because the thing that holds him back is he's got French blood in him.
Oh, he's lost. He's lost. Because they were trying to find his and they couldn't find it.
Jean Ricard is half Danish, half French. He's got Danish blood in him and he's got French blood in him. So what happens is he invades your country and then surrenders.
Yeah, you wish so. You wish so. Just to wait.
Actually,
put you in the dungeon.
You know, and most people grow and change in the hobby as well. I mean, I came in, and of course, when I started the hobby, I didn't have the money to spend on it. And Joyce was like, only trains you've ridden on. Because that narrowed it. So ICE, or double-decker Regio Bond, 648s. And then all of a sudden, she decided, oh, you've got all these trains now. You need a freight train. Honey, we've never ridden on a freight train. Oh, but it was a way I could surprise you and get you something you didn't have. Okay, so I got a freight train. And then, oh, I like this railjet. Hey, cool, I'll get the railjet now. And then I was like, but it's always era 6. I was always modern era, 2000 to now. And then I've got era 1 trains. I've got trains from all 6 eras. Now, the UK has so many more eras, but basically even the United States, some companies have slightly different eras, but most of European stuff and American stuff tends to call 6 eras: pre-World War I, post-World War I, before World War II, and into World War II, post-World War II into the 60s and 70s. Era 4 is 70s into the 80s. Era 5 is like late 80s, mid-late 80s to early 2000s. And then Era 6 is 2000. Hang on. Mark, are you talking to us?
He's talking to the cat.
Okay.
But you want to say this, the one thing about
Look,
I'm going mainly into the with the new collection with the Austrian, Central and Eastern European. A lot of their stuff from the late 60s and early 70s, particularly
by the way, welcome in, George.
Austria, are still running. They're still running to this day. And I've noticed down in Slovenia, they actually running a lot of the old French electric locomotives down there, a private company down there. So their areas, I mean, you can go from the 70s all the way to the present and throw in some modern stuff along the way, and it's got a good variety, and that's what I'm liking about it and enjoying it.
You still running the XPTs down there?
They are going to be phased out in the next year or two. I've actually got some shots of them earlier in the week, but they are getting phased out. They are making replacements for them now. They're doing a test
to phase out our Intercity 125s now. I think we've only got
Yeah, well, we
You've
got
got a
parts.
handful left now.
Well, we got some spare parts now because we can go to the English pool to get some spare parts to keep ours going. Because that's what they've been doing. They've been getting parts from the UK and sending them down here.
You best start now getting in touch with the Nigerians because that's where they're going.
Yeah,
well, they'll go to a lot of countries. You know, it's just whoever bids first, I guess. It was funny because I live near one of the most famous amusement parks. Was, you know, used to be considered the #1 roller coaster park in the world. Cedar Point is only about an hour or so east of Toledo, and over the years, the roller coasters have changed and been replaced. And people go, "Whatever happened to this?" And there's a website that will tell you what they take every roller coaster in the world and where it started and where it is now. And it's like, this old roller coaster I used to ride in the 70s and 80s is now in India. And, you know, it just, as the new stuff and they improve and build the bigger, faster, there's somebody who wants the old stuff because they don't have anything and now they want something. In fact, that circles, well, now let's keep it on trains. I won't sidetrack too far. But, you know, as somebody who was relatively new into the hobby, you know, because like when Greg was here, he was talking about how wonderful the hobby is. And it is a wonderful hobby. There's plenty of people out there willing to help you. But we're not a perfect hobby, and we're not a better hobby than any other hobby. We have our jerks. I mean, some people think I'm a jerk, but we have the people that you're doing it wrong and there's only one way to do it. All right. You know, we call them rivet counters or whatever. There are people that if you're not modeling these trains in this era, it's boring. There are people that are like, oh, if you don't weather your trains, I don't even want to look at your channel.
But you see, you have a look at the European trains, like the road jet and a lot of the passenger trains that are in Austria. They get washed daily. They are spotless.
They get washed. Yeah, they get washed. I mean, there's plenty of dirty freight trains for sure. But
they are spotless.
Yeah, they get a rinse, lather, repeat.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I don't get into the biases. There are people, oh, this scale is better than this scale. And there's no such thing as better. There's better for us.
It's what's convenient for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I look at I've got a big enough space that I can do a nice HO table. And there are people who will say, yeah, but I wasted space. I could have done so much more with this, but this is what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
But imagine how much more creative and how much wilder this table would have been had I decided to go N scale, where now these distances really are quite impressive. You know, in N scale, that basically would double the relative distance between points. It would really be something. I could do like Northern Germany on one side, Southern Germany on the other if I wanted to. But, you know, this is going to be the flat area. This is going to be the mountains and have those. Or, oh my gosh, what if I went Z scale or T scale? I could do a miniature Wonderland if I did T scale here.
T-scale is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Raymond, that's just me. I don't criticize.
No.
I don't ever criticize a channel or how they do their trains or run their trains. I don't even usually give advice. Like if somebody says, what should I do on my layout? It's like, I'm not you. I don't know what your vision is. I can't tell you. And the minute you ask advice in a video, your comment section can drive you crazy. You'll get 30, 40 people with 30, 40 different views on what you should do.
Yep.
So I don't usually.
Everyone else's is wrong, according to whoever's written the comments.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Absolutely.
Goes in the waters.
And that's why. Go ahead, Randall.
I was just going to say, I always tell people it's your layout, build it and operate your way, not what everybody else tells you to operate it. So that was all I was going to say.
If you need some assistance and whatnot, where you get stuck with something and you ask for it, then sometimes it's good to go out and ask for help, and someone will give you a simple explanation on how to solve the problem.
And we all say rule one, but there are channels that rule one, rule one, rule one. But if you ever listen to those guys, they don't always follow rule one.
No.
You know,
No.
even though they talk about it. And there was a great video by Iron. There's several channels called Iron Horse, but it's a guy in the UK.
Great. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. He did a great video that's called Rule One is a Cop Out. And that's obviously that's a clickbait. Oh, he's gonna say that. But if you listen to him, he gives a very sound explanation of what he says, what he means. And I'm very much a rule one person. But yeah, in some ways, rule one can be a cop out. But in the end, you still should acknowledge it, because this hobby, like any hobby, doesn't need criticisms. But there are people in any walk of life that feel it's not just about doing their hobby. They've got to prove they're better than you. Or if they're not trying to prove they're better than you, they're trying to prove that there's a right way to do things and they do it the right way, and there's a wrong way and those people do it the wrong way. It is a human nature thing. There are some people that no matter what they have, they got to have more than everybody else. No matter how much money you have, you've got to have more. And
I can drive right train better than you, so bleh.
And my thing is, I'm aware of how lucky I am in the situation that I have all the trains. I was able to buy this collection. I'm lucky in a lot of ways, but I'm aware of that luck.
But it's funny.
When it comes to trains, there's no criticism. I don't criticize. I don't put people down.
Does it work? Yes. Then it is right. Does it work? No. Then it's wrong.
Yeah.
And again, if it doesn't work, it may not be it's wrong. There might be a problem with the loco or the track. It's not that you did something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but again, you don't need to criticize. You don't need to criticize. It's like I would like to see, for example, YouTube get rid of the thumbs down. Okay, you know, I had a friend of mine put up a video a couple of weeks ago, and a guy went on there and watched the 12-minute video and then complained about the lighting and the sound. And then left a negative criticism and a thumbs down on the video. And it's like, you didn't have to watch 15 minutes of it. Okay? If you don't like it, move on.
Yeah.
Move on. Go somewhere else. You know, Joyce posted one of the songs she sang on her channel, because she doesn't post all the songs we do, the parody songs, but she'll post the ones she sings on her channel just to have some content on her channel. And some guy gave her a really nasty comment. Really nasty. He just got downright nasty. And it was rather, you know, Joyce just like, all she did was type, whatever, dude. That was her attitude, whatever, dude. And I'm like, dude, come here and say that to my wife, you know. But, you know, you didn't have to listen. You could three lyrics in, instead of listening and ripping on who told you could sing, you know, because I get that comment a lot. Who told you could sing? My mommy did. She says I sing well, you know.
Guys.
Anyhow, Eric is going to try again. So let's welcome Eric in just in time to say goodbye. No, hi, Eric. Are you there this time?
Let's see. Does it work?
Yep.
Yeah.
What was that you saying?
Hey, we can hear you, Eric. 5x5.
Awesome. I had to ditch the expensive desktop computer and get the cheap Chromebook out to make it work.
Hang on. He doesn't sound German. He's got no accent.
It's a lie. Look at that beard.
A bit of an accent if you want.
That's better.
I can make a little bit of an accent sometimes. I have to be in the mood.
But just going by what you was talking before we let Eric loose, it's like this week, people say you can't run a passenger train or train that way. They never run it that way. I saw a perfect example of Southern Cross Rail will know, our Indian Pacific, the way the concepts of the passenger cars are put together. They have a certain way that they are lashed up. But the Indian Pacific on Wednesday It's thrown the rule book right out the window. So basically, you can run it whatever way you want. Because somewhere in the world, a railway company or railroad will run the train the way they want to run it.
Hey, Dave from Scott Rails has joined us.
For example.
Well, there's a company over here called Rail Adventure. And what they do all like moving wagon cars and stock and stuff. They use Intercity 125 power cars with buffers attached to them.
Right. And people mix them in, and again, it's all. So anyhow, Eric's finally here. So now we're going to get a chance to let him talk. So Eric, we're going to ask you a question. What is the one right way to do trains?
Whatever way you want. I am 100% non-prototypical. Whatever I put together and throw out there is what we're running. I didn't even find out about prototypical till I was, I don't know, 30 years old.
Why do you say that, Eric? Because when I watch your videos, you are very strict with running them in consist. You know, like when you with your son put up like the E03 and the beige and red cars. You know, that's a perfect train you run there.
Well, if it's a prototypical consist for me, it's completely by accident. Or like that one, when I was traveling in Germany, I would see those running, and with that color scheme, and I spent a lot of time in not a lot of time, but I did a lot of my traveling to Germany in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's what I see or saw then, and that's what I picked up. Willie's thing is, his favorite thing is unboxing things. He wants to do unboxing videos all the time.
That's my grandson.
We've unboxed the red switcher, Willie. Well, we have to unbox it again.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what I can do to keep him entertained. And so like I've got probably 4 or 5 of those with the blue. So we're going to be doing an unboxing video because he has never taken those out of the box. And we've never had them on the layout since we started doing videos.
And so sometimes they just look right together, don't they, Eric? Sometimes those trains just look right together. I've had this argument with that Dane over there on the phone many times.
I'm just, Eric, I don't know if
you're just trying to start trouble with him now.
No, but I just wanted to say to Eric, I don't know if he knows the channel that is known as the Third Rail.
Yes.
You know it. And
yes.
When you see what he puts together, and he's so nice because he takes out the old pictures from the net where he shows how the consists of trains were. In the days where you had much more mixed trains, and that's what I like, and that's what I try to learn to Anthony, that he should watch more of those channels and mix.
He's a paid advertiser for the Third Rail. He gets paid to promote his channel on every live feed he can.
No, I don't, and don't you blame me on that, but I must say, and that's not to offend any of the other participants here, but I feel a certain brotherhood with those that run Macklin trains, Right,
but then you're like, now you got to watch the Third Rail, and then you should be doing what he does, and watch how he does it.
But you should see that it's possible to mix trains more, instead of always putting all the blue cars together and all the red cars together.
It's possible, but we go back to rule 1, John.
Yeah.
I run them the way I want. And sometimes I want a specific consist. I say, guys, how would this have looked? Oh, you could have had it mixed with this. I know, but what would have been a just off the printing press run of this? Because even the Mercury magazine goes, the catalog says, even the old ones, this car came with this car, and this car to form a set.
Yeah, but the old trains were more colorful than the white and red striped trains that you run all the time.
Thank you, Andy. I gotta defend John Ricard here, and if he's getting paid to promote the third rail, good for him. Any penny and dime you can get together to buy another train.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately I don't get paid anything. I am a very small channel with very little content, and so I.
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Yours.
Pardon me.
I guarantee you, you're gonna be adding some content to your channel when Joyce and I get over there in June.
No, I won't.
Your house is being turned into a layout, sir. Your house is being turned into a layout. Joyce and I have already discussed this.
Okay, yeah.
Furniture is
I'm
getting
glad.
moved and track is getting laid.
Okay.
Where?
Jean,
What's happening?
I said you and I are going to be laying the track there.
There's the pretty girl. There's the pretty girl.
Hi,
John, I
Joyce.
told you never to use that comment in public. So, Eric, hang on, John. I got to interrupt your drooling.
Yeah.
So, Eric, I have heard on your channel you mentioned that your father, who is from Germany, you did get some Märklin trains from him, correct? Or did I mishear?
Yeah. So actually, both my parents are from Germany. My mom came when she was 12 years old on the SS Hershey, of all things. And then Dad came in 1969 on vacation. And then they met and he stuck around. Somewhere along there, we picked up he got some trains. I think we bought some furniture and I think I got a Bachmann set. And then shortly after that, when I shorted it out because I ran a figure 8 or something, the Märklin, he goes, yeah, I don't know if he had his mom ship it over or what, but it was stuff that he had in the basement at his mom's. And, so a lot of that stuff is, pre-69. I don't know how old that stuff is, really, because I don't know if he bought it new or secondhand for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And
but that doesn't change the age.
What's that?
I just said, you say you don't know how old it is, but I would say even if he bought it secondhand, that doesn't change the age of the trains. They are still the same age, whether they were secondhand or new.
You see what I mean? This is what I deal with all the time offline.
Right.
I just like the Schienenbus. I just want to make sure that you get it in the right. You shouldn't put a Schienenbus Beiwagen on the Schienenbus you have with a DB signet on it, because that's pre-DB.
Why not? We can just run anything, Jean Ricard. See the hypocrisy I get from him? Anthony, you can just put any train together. Why do you always have to have all the blue ones together and all the cream and beige ones together? And Anthony, you shouldn't be running that Schienenbus with a passenger car that has a DB on it.
Ian, I just went and bought whatever I wanted to that looked neat. Some of the stuff like my V200, I bought in I don't remember if it was in 88 or 92 on one of my trips. And the only reason I bought it is because Dad said he had one and it got lost somewhere. Maybe a brother took it. I don't, he doesn't know. It was just lost in somewhere. So, that's the only reason I bought one, because he had one.
I don't know what's happening to my Schienenbus, the Roco new one that I got.
Your doctor probably removed it while you were asleep.
If you look at my layout, I've got Japanese locomotives pulling British stock.
Why not? Why not? You're giving them ideas. You're giving British Rail ideas. This is the train you need to get. And I've actually discovered something interesting here in Australia this week too. There's a private consortium, but they are actually starting to do the work for the new high-speed train that's going to be running between Sydney and Brisbane. And surprising enough, it was above one of the many tunnels that it's going to go through. Now, apparently, the train that they're going to be using on the system will be very similar to what Anthony Dodge posted. I think it was yesterday during his show or one of his videos where he says, "Now we're going to have to get this ICE. What is it? ICE 5?"
Yeah, they've Deutsche Bahn has released the first prototypical CADs of the ICE 5.
The Siemens.
They actually looking at doing that, but it's going to be a private consortium. But geez, I got a lot of work ahead of them. I reckon it's going to be ready in 4 years.
There, Jean, you should be happy. It's running now. Do you see it?
I am happy to see it. I'm so happy that it.
But I'm not happy. It's got a passenger car behind it. It should be running on its own.
No, it has that model of the little car is made after the short guy.
The Beiwagen.
But the way they ran down in Serbia and former Yugoslavia, they didn't always have the second car with it. They ran by themselves.
Yeah, that's why they have couplings so that you can take it off if there's no need for the second car. Christ almighty.
See, it's a Beiwagen, so it's in two sizes because bi means two.
It goes both ways. Sorry.
I thought I've seen them run in 3 and 4.
You have.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. They could go up to 4 with the fourth one being sort of almost like a caboose, like a brake van like vehicle.
But there is a railway company it's a historical place near the Austrian-German border where they're still running the Shinnerbus as a tourist attraction, but they're also still using it as a commuter service for people on that line to meet up with the Deutsche Bahn's main line. And
they make
in a profit.
And they make the short people ride in the second car.
Yeah. And the partially amputated people in the front unit.
So anyhow, because we got a special guest today, Eric, I'll ask you another question kind of related.
I'm not that special.
Did you get into trains like as a kid because dad buys you a train set and you start playing with them, or living in Wisconsin, you live in an area where lots of trains go through and that kind of sparks it? But obviously today you run German trains and you're building with the American Sea Track. And you got beautiful stuff going on. Again, these guys have a wonderful channel. Right now they're doing their own advent calendar reveals with Willie and his Lego Star Wars kit. But you have great trains, and you've done a lot of conversions where you've taken a lot of these old ones from analog, and you don't do the simple conversion like me. You do the full motor replacement and complete rewiring. Two questions there. What got you and kept you into trains, and then what you're doing?
All right. So, like I said, I think mom and dad bought a couch set, and as part of that, you got a Bachmann train set with it. And I ran that. And then some switches were, from the toy store. I put those in, and I tried making, two right-hand turnouts to make a joint in the middle. And then nothing happened. And then shortly after that, we had I don't know. I think that was probably 10 years old or so. And then a little bit after that, there was a box, and we were in the basement. Box was probably thick cardboard, like 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch thick cardboard. I remember this box, but it was 4 feet long, probably 2 feet tall and another 18 inches wide, and it was just full of Märklin track. And that's how it came to. That's the first time I saw it. I remember this. There was a sheet of 4x8 styrofoam, and we set it up, like the old catalogs had it, with 3 ovals, because we had the industrial turns, the super tight ones that you could only run a couple of things on.
Right.
It didn't stop me. I ran everything on it, but we took in, that's where it started. Probably, we had one set up pretty much constantly till we almost, I left it on one night when I went upstairs. Dad came down and saw a little fire there. One of the turnout metal track. So the blue turnout buttons, the 4-pin, and
Right.
one of those was pushed, and it, instead of releasing, it stayed engaged, kept power going to that servo, and then it was just constantly heating up. I don't know if there was fire or not. That could have been Dad just letting me have it, but there was a nice, probably 4-inch, 5-inch hole melted down about 2 inches deep into the styrofoam from where that servo was sitting, and then it got put away for a little bit. So, and then it came back out, and then it came in and out constantly. Anytime Grandma would come and visit, there would be a train for me. I've got one set that Willie wants us to take out, the 750 Years of Berlin. I remember her.
I know that one. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember her bringing that one. This was back in the day when you could walk up to the gate as people came out, or when people left, you could walk them right up to the airplane. But then as they came off, there was at O'Hare, the second, passengers all came off on the first floor, and the second floor was all glass. Mm-hmm. And everybody stood up there looking down at baggage claim and customs, looking for whoever they had coming. Oh, there they are, kind of things. And then I see Grandma coming, and she's got this, long box wrapped in brown paper, and then customs makes her open it so they can see what it is. But yeah, that's so, a lot of good memories going down to O'Hare and going backwards on the freeway because Dad missed the ramp. That was a great one. So that's how, and then, I just, at trips to Germany, I'd get something. Every time I went to Germany, I'd bring something home. Kids, then I got married, had kids. We had to lay out, a train track set up in the basement that we ran. And then just too many things on the plate. So it all kind of got sidelined. Then we moved. If you see the back of my, in the backgrounds, a little bit of pack rat jeans in here. So we're going through and cleaning that stuff up. And finally I just said, you know what? I can't wait for the perfect time anymore. I got to just do it. And that puts us to here now.
Cool.
Yeah, and you are helping Willie to get a sound interest in the trains as well. He is about the right age where you really take him into trains.
Yeah.
So I've got to say one thing about this hobby. I mean, apart from the main ship, and then the one thing about this hobby, you can actually learn a lot of skills in this hobby, which a hands-on experience. You can learn carpentry, you can do electrical, you can learn constructions and the standards of construction and how things are made. And there's nothing better than having a hands-on experience than just watching it on a screen all the time. That's what I enjoy about this hobby. You know, the limit of hands-on experience, what you learn from it is endless. If you really want to go into prototypical or get some ideas of critical running, some running of the trains around the world, you start learning about the history on it. You get to learn the history of towns, so you get to learn the history of the countries and how they all evolved. And it's just full of interest. As I said, it's just one of those hobbies that's got, you can learn a lot from. A hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Engineer Willie, just watch. Oh, God.
My best, the thing I've taken the most out of the hobby is the people that I've gotten to know. As much as Jean, Ricard, and I will banter, just because we are that close, we can banter like this and still call each other on the phone and say "love you." Although he never says it back.
Speak for yourself.
But because we went, so many things happen, and it's the Jungian theory of synchronicity. But Joyce and I got to go to Hamburg in 2023. Now, I went every year to Germany from 2003 to spend a month in Germany from 2003 to 2017 every year. 2003 to 2016 with the student exchange program I ran, and then beginning in 17, it was just Joyce and me, since the exchange program ended and we were still putting the money aside to go. We just said, let's go ourselves. And then 17, 19, and then COVID hit. And so we missed a couple of years. And then Joyce said, let's do something different. We went to the UK, but we went to Hamburg for 3 days, and we had known Jean for a couple of years online. So we felt we were safe, and we made sure we met in a public place and there were police around just in case. But the memory, the funny memory, because we'd went to the UK the year before and met a bunch of UK YouTubers, and those were brilliant. And similar stories there, but since Jean's here, Jean was waiting at the top of the stairs. Eric, I think you've been to the Hamburg station, right? Because you went to Miniature Wonderland.
No, not
so
me.
No. Sorry. No, you didn't. Okay. I'm confusing another story from somebody else. All right. But anyhow, he's at the top of the stairs. The trains come down here and you walk up the stairs to get up there. And Jean is just standing up there, and he is looking for Joyce and me to get off the train. And we're getting off the train, just looking, where is he? And then when you see each other, and it's reality. And then we spent the next 3 days, we went to Miniature Wonderland together and hung out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was a special time. It's just an absolutely delightful memory. And to be honest, of all the things out of the hobby, skills or no skills, the best thing for me in the hobby has been, and then we just went to Australia this year and spent 3 weeks with Arty, and we lived with Arty.
Bastard.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't give us the best accommodations. I don't know why we had to share a room with the kangaroos, but and why the kangaroos were always frightened when Arty came in. But hey, we survived it. Joyce and I are tough people. We do our thing. But that, to me, is the best thing about this hobby. It's not about the community and people helping people. That's part of it. But it's just, we have a person from near Milwaukee, Toledo, Ohio, Missouri, the UK, Denmark, and Australia, and we're all sitting here talking on a screen.
Anthony, to be fair, I actually live in Arkansas, but I work in Missouri. It's kind of a convoluted.
Mike, I knew that. I always screw it up. I always think you live in Missouri.
No, you're good.
Is that so?
Well, it wouldn't be good, because when Joyce and I decide we want to finally come out and see you, we would have gone to the wrong state going, hey, Randall!
Well, you never know. I might be out there in Missouri, because you can't never tell when I'm working. So.
Who you looking for? I'm looking for Randall Ellison. No, he's in Missouri. No. He's in Arkansas. Yeah. Well, what do I do? All right. You see this road here? You just drive that down yonder about 5-6 miles. Look for the red barn. Turn left, and then go another 70 miles, and then turn right at the second. No, the third. The second or third light. You want to turn right, and then he's right there.
So
Just
Roger,
make sure you have a car with good suspension.
Andy Jones place, you've gone too far. If you go to Auntie Jean's place, you've gone too far. You've got to come back.
Yeah. Well, if we run into Jason the Train Freak, we went too far, but that would be a nice visit too.
At least you will have the possibility to follow the rails, and eventually you'll meet.
Yeah, find the right train track. If we go this way and keep yelling Randall, eventually we'll walk past where he works, and he'll be sitting in his van doing one of his live streams from his van going, wait a minute, is that Anthony and Joyce? I think that's Anthony and Joyce there.
That would be.
How long does it take to get to work in the morning then, Randall?
What's that?
How long does it take you to get to work in the morning if you're working or live in one state and work in the other?
On average, it's the thing is, I actually live just right near the Arkansas-Missouri line, so it's only about 15 miles to where I work. The problem is it's about 5 miles of that is on some pretty rough road, gravel road.
And Randall likes to do that to cause trouble. He won't talk about it online, but he likes to do that. He's so close to the border, he likes to go across the border and go, "Hey, coppers!" And then when they come up and just step across the line and go, "You can't touch me."
That's right.
Randall.
No, it takes me on average about 30 minutes to get to work.
Randall, do you have one of those cars that are two ways? You know, where you have railroad tracks or railroad wheels in front of your rubber tires so that you can actually run on the rails?
No, I don't have any vehicles like that, John. Those all belong to BNSF, so they probably wouldn't appreciate it if I took one of their vehicles. So,
okay,
might be fun.
Yeah.
It might be, but I like my job security, so.
Well, all you got to do is just put it on the tracks, put it in the drive, and just watch it go by itself. See, just get some popcorn and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that either.
Does anyone do narrow gauge?
Make sure there's no cameras watching at the time. Just make sure there's no cameras.
Here's the thing: there's cameras on everything.
I'm wrapping this up because I've got things to film tonight.
Yeah,
we got some questions from the viewers, and does anybody do narrow gauge or theme park trains?
I do narrow gauge.
Yeah, I think Chase Railways. I think he's referring to like 009 by the sounds of it, as opposed to N gauge.
I do what is known as HOE or 009 together with my other trains. You know, I actually have a single video or maybe two on my channel that shows a little bit of my narrow gauge running. So
John, you're familiar with 009?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he still work for MI6?
No. He is a completely independent system.
Yeah.
And then, yes, Edward at Happy Valley does broad gauge.
Yes, he does.
Or now to be politically correct, we call it lady gauge.
Okay. Actually, I think Arty must do some kind of narrow gauge. Isn't half of the Australian network on another track gauge than standard gauge?
Oh, we got 3-4 different gauges here. I work on a standard gauge.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't afford the narrow gauge stuff from Queensland, but that's easy to run those trains because they all backwards anyway. Because Queensland's backwards.
Chase clarifies this for a couple of people. It says, like the Disneyland Railroad, which Bachman actually did make a kit. I remember that. To be honest, a company couple of companies, I'm trying to remember which ones, made the Wuppertal hanging railroad line, which is back in service. They're running it again. They had stopped it for a little while, but they're running it again. And I would love to get a model. I don't know where the heck I would put it now. Maybe Joyce will let me put it in the bedroom. But I'd love to do the Wuppertal hanging railway. That would be a totally different gauge and setup. But
haven't they got one in Germany? Someone that's still running in that system?
That's Wuppertal.
Running on a hanging track?
Yeah, that's Wuppertal.
Yeah.
Schwebebahn. Die Wuppertal Schwebebahn.
Yep.
Going over the, actually it runs, in gallows over the Wupper River.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have a river going through the city and everything hangs from the track and goes over the river.
Actually, that's what they tell you now. But the real reason is because it's actually a very fun ride. And because they're German, they say things a little different. So where we would go, whoopee! When it's going over and they're riding it, they go, whoopah! So they call it the Wuppertal.
I'm not.
That sounds like a regular party, Anthony.
No.
Oh, those Germans know to party. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
So Anthony, I used one of your jokes a couple weeks ago, and it went great.
Oh, good.
That was
the.
That was an accident.
I'll be expecting the check soon then.
The Guten Tag, y'all.
Oh, Southern German? Yeah.
Yeah.
I always started my school year off doing that.
So I MC these Mardi Gras shows, and this wasn't a Mardi Gras show, but our Prince was there and the band was there. And at the last minute, they go, Eric, why don't you talk? So it's like, all right, let's do this. So I used your joke. The beer tent was laughing hysterically, so it went well.
Yep, the Southern German dialect. I speak Southern German. Guten
Yeah.
Tag, y'all.
That was a fluke.
You picked the right one.
Was that
Well,
the show? Was that
the crowd had been drinking for a while already.
That makes it easier. Although, I don't know. I've worked in front of crowds where they've drank a lot, and that makes it harder to get a laugh. And more dangerous if you don't get a laugh because they're like, I ain't funny. I'm half Bavarian. Don't you make fun of Southern Germans?
Right.
Yeah.
Was that the show that you filmed with the carnival costumes you were in, Willie?
So I don't know if it was a short that was from last week. If it was the long video that's like 30 minutes or so, that was at our German Fest here, and that was the actual carnival show at German Fest.
Okay.
Because that was very reminiscent of our GAF. The biggest party in Toledo is the German American Festival. It's always the last weekend of August, and I worked it for years, working in the Potato Pancake House, and as well as a couple of years, my students entertained there. We had a show we would do. Like one was in English called The Big Bad Wolf's Big Bad Day, where we took just a whole bunch of Grimm's Brother fairy tales, mixed them together into a murder story about how the Big Bad Wolf was framed by a guy named Peter, who was actually committing all the murders, killing the 3 little pigs and doing this and doing that. And it just, my students wrote it with suggestions from me and so forth. But the original ones who wrote it were my daughter and then 2 of her friends in school. And we decided to do the show, but then each year kids said, oh, I got a funny bit we could do. What if we took this? And we just kept adding to it. But yeah, we did that and it was a big hit. So we wound up doing it 3 years in a row. And then we would do the one we do in German a lot was called Name That Film, where we would take famous scenes from English movies, big movies. So you've never seen nothing than a bunch of high school students doing Monty Python in German. Ihre Toten raus! Ihre Toten raus! Ich bin nicht tot! Ruhig! Du wirst bald sterben. You know?
Bring out your dead from...
Yeah, that's it. Monty Python, but all in German. And so there would be play sheets. There'd be the play sheets, and people would try to guess the movie, you know, and they'd write it down and turn it in. We'd give a prize at the end, you know, like a $50 gift certificate or something like that. And we did it to raise money for our trips to Germany.
Okay.
But they were very popular. We made lots of money on those shows, and then we did them for the German American Festival. But
yeah, it's tough. You know, I could do the whole show in German, but nobody would get what's going on, and nobody understands it anymore. And it's like you can't do it anymore. And music is different. Music is weird. You know, the crowds are weird.
Yeah.
Everybody wants, you know, the Germans that come and play want to play their American sets because that's what the crowd wants to hear. And we're like, no, that's not what they want to hear. They want to have, you know, German music, which is Oompa music and polkas, and, you know, which
the number one song at our German American Festival, and when I worked the festival, you would hear it 100 times a day. Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. That was the It's Time to Drink song.
It is a huge German song, though. You go anywhere in Germany, and it's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is. But, I've heard it way too many times in my life.
You know, and it depends on the crowd. It depends on the band. After, like, 9 o'clock, you know, the music changes, just like at Oktoberfest. You know, you got a later crowd, younger crowd. So it all changes.
Oh, right. But what I love about, for example, in Germany, and we try in our German American culture, and definitely in Wisconsin, that has a much stronger Scandinavian and German heritage, although Toledo has a very strong German heritage. About 70% of Toledoans have some sort of German descent in them. But anyhow, is that when I go to Germany, you'll have teenagers, you know, American teenagers like, oh, I'm not into this. Oh, come on, Dad. No. And German teenagers, they'll be listening to all the newest pop and rock and whatever. But then the festival's on and the old German traditional songs are playing and they're into it and singing them. I've been in cars with trains with German kids singing, and it's do. And they can celebrate both, where like a lot of Americans feel like that stuff is for my grandparents. I do this now. But in Germany, it's like, we can do our thing and then do what we've always done. And that's what the one things that really I hit for sure. All right, Andy, good night. Yeah, I got to start packing up here myself.
Yeah, but see, they brought up with it. If you have a look at a lot of European music festivals, which I've been part of a lot back in the earlier days, there is a lot of folk music being played and performed. And if you actually play an instrument, you actually learn from all the folk music that is played in Europe, particularly in Austria, Switzerland, Germany, particularly in the southern part of Germany. When you go into Hungary and some parts of Yugoslavia, you still see the old, well, not so much in Hungary anymore, but you still hear the old classical folk music played the old-fashioned way.
Artie, did you say Hungary?
Hungry, yeah, I'm getting hungry. It's way past.
Yeah, go get some to eat. Okay.
I mean, that's some of the bands we're bringing in. You know, we brought in Scherzenjäger a couple of years ago, and again, we just finished this American album. Let's play this. No, guys.
And then there's the fun ones like, oh my God, what's the name of the band? They take rock and roll songs. It's a German group, and they take rock and roll songs, but they do them to the German Oompa beat. Oh God, what's their name? I listen to them all the time in my brain.
Yeah, I can't.
They're a Bavarian group.
Yes.
Oh my God, they're hilarious. It's the same thing as when I watch like a bluegrass version of Thunderstruck, and it's like, I don't like bluegrass, but that's cool.
Right.
So anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to cut and run, but I already went about 40 minutes, 50 minutes longer than I planned. But
sorry.
Once I get started talking, I can't shut up, you know, which is weird because in real life I tend to be a wallflower.
How do you stop an Italian from talking? Toys has me on.
You usually have Joyce do it. Joyce will put her hand on my arm Like you can watch in a live stream every now and then. If I've been going a little too much, you'll just see her put her hand on my arm, and that's Joyce for "Shut up, honey."
Yeah, been a great stream.
All right, John, we can't hear you. You lost your mic, and maybe that's a blessing.
And real quick, Anthony, just for anybody that didn't know what we were talking about earlier about the me sitting in the van, I haul crews for BNSF, so
right,
that's what my job is.
If you didn't know, he works in the rail industry and he takes crews back and forth to places, and then they make him sit in hotel rooms, which actually tells you
they do.
He's really a hitman. He's always in hotel rooms waiting for a job.
We're not supposed to talk about that, Anthony.
Right. So I want to thank Eric for actually coming up on camera. It was wonderful to have you here, Mark. Enjoyed watching you work.
It was great.
We were seeing your progress. But we just had a couple of people that haven't been on in a while, and I wanted to let them go at that. So thank you for joining us, Eric. It was really great to see you again. You got a great channel. If you guys aren't anybody still here, all three of you left, please go to Eric's channel and subscribe. And next week on my Friday, my actual show, not me substituting, my actual show, it is the 3rd annual Steamer Palooza, the Christmas Steamer Palooza next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel. So on that note, good night. Take care. Arty, wherever you are.
Night, everybody.
I may or may not be streaming from the club display tomorrow too. So it depends on what things are going to look like at work. So
I got to take care of my voice. I got a bunch of voices to do. It's all a bunch of horse poop. Now, Smokey, you just need to behave yourself, young man. I'm just done a lot. You look like you have. But yeah, I'm doing voices starting tomorrow. So
okay,
Matt Clark Christmas special coming hopefully by Christmas Day.
But don't overdo it.
So on that note, good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see whomever, whenever.
See you guys.
See you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.